Welcome to the Same Side Selling Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Altman. Why do B2B proposals exist? Think about this. We have a meeting with our potential client. We talk about what it is they're trying to solve. We talk about what happens if they don't solve that. How important is this? We talk about what success looks like. At least we do if we're following the same side quadrants. And then we send a proposal. Now, the proposal isn't the agreement. The proposal is just, here's what we're proposing to you. So why does the B2B proposal exist? Is it so that the salesperson can think about stuff and then present pricing and an approach to the prospect without actually getting their real-time feedback? See, more often than not, what I see is organizations have a meeting with their potential client. They talk about what the solution might be. They don't necessarily share with them specifically what they're going to be doing. They don't necessarily share with them in a real-time synchronous communication what the investment will be. And then they send that in a proposal. And it's like you may as well be sending someone who jumps out of a cake because it's, surprise, here's what it's going to cost you. Now, generally what happens? We provide a proposal to somebody, and the proposal might have, let's say, 10 pages in it. And part of that gives the background of your company and your approach and all these sorts of things and your qualifications and how many offices you have. And on page 10 of the 10-page proposal, it has the price. And this is what it's going to cost. And we actually, for a fleeting moment, believe that the client reads everything else and then goes to the price. But we know that when we are on the receiving end, we don't do that. We flip straight to the price and go, that's more than I thought it would be. That's less than I thought it would be. Now let me flip back through and see if they can justify this thing. So what if, and bear with me on this one, what if instead of taking that approach with the proposal, we said to the client, well, let me give this some thought. I need to talk to our team, make sure that we have the approach that's going to get you these results. Client says, okay, that's great. Now, a week goes by, we've got the information. So we could write it up in a proposal and send it to them and throw it over the fence and hope that it doesn't blow up and come bouncing back to us. Or we could reach out to that potential client and say, hey, our team's come up with what we think is the right approach. I've got a couple more questions. I just want to make sure that we're all in sync before we wrap this up. Do you have 10 minutes for us to discuss it? And now you reach out to them, and during this conversation, you say, let me just review. Here's what we're trying to solve. Here's what happens if you don't solve it. Here's why it's so important. Here's what success looks like. Here's who else is involved in this. Is there anything we missed in that? No, okay. Our approach will be to do these three things, include these products. We're giving a mix of what the solution will be. Is there anything that you feel we're overlooking there? Because if they do, the price doesn't matter because we're still back to the drawing board and making adjustments. What concerns do you have? Do you think that approach is likely to give you the best outcome? In fact, 0 to 10, how would you rate that solution in terms of your confidence and how well it's going to address this issue? The client says, I think it's a 10. Okay, in order to achieve that, the investment would be $85,000. What would you like to do? Or $85,000. Is that out of the question? Or $85,000. Should we even continue? And basically what we're trying to do is get real-time confirmation about the approach and then what the investment is. So that way we're confirming with them, here are all the key points of what problem you're trying to solve, why you need it, what's the likely outcome or result, who else needs to be included, here's our approach for delivering those results, what concerns do you have that even if we deliver these things, you may not get those results. If you feel 0 to 10, it's a 10 for the solution, and you feel really confident, now's a good time for me to say to you, and in order to achieve those results, here's the investment for that approach. And now we get confirmation. So now you might think, great, so then I put that into a proposal. No, you don't need a proposal. At that point, you initially sent an email that summarized everything for them, but you didn't yet know what the approach was or what the investment is. Now you have that, and you say, okay, great, this is fine. I'm just going to send you a quick summary of that, make sure we're on the same page. I'm going to put that into an agreement that you can execute. So the major difference between a proposal and an agreement is that the proposal is basically signaling to your client, here's the idea that we have. Do you want to negotiate some of this? If I've already got their agreement to move forward, I can just say, great, let me put that in the form of an agreement and send it over to you with a signature block. And that way we can cut out one of the most time-consuming steps, which is the proposal. Now, sure, there are some industries where they expect you to submit a proposal. In fact, they send out a request for proposals. And what we remember is that when an organization sends out a proposal and they send it out to a competitive bid, they always have a preferred vendor. And if you don't know who it is, it's not you. Next time someone says to you, hey, can you send me a proposal? Instead, say to them, let me understand what it is you're trying to do. We'll have a discussion about what our approach will be and what the investment is. If it makes sense for you, then we'll turn that into an agreement, and that gives us the ability to move forward. So avoid the temptation, avoid the old school method of sending proposals. Instead, have these conversations, agree on the principles, and then send an agreement that they can execute. And you cut out a step that isn't necessary. It's just an old school way of approaching it. And sending the agreement is a more modern approach that generates results. If there are topics you'd like me to address, just drop me a note to ian@ianaltman.com. And I will see you next week on the Same Side Selling Podcast. So long.